What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. So I'm going to go in over about 5 quarterbacks I think are super safe right now to draft in fantasy football drafts. These are guys that I'm not exactly expecting to drastically outperform their current ADP, but guys that I think are super safe and guys that I don't think are going to let you down. After this video, I'll be doing a video very similar to this on the running back, wide receiver, and tight end position. And then if you guys like these videos as well, I can do the same thing, but in terms of like riskiest players to draft at each position as well. So I found that these videos are pretty helpful. It's good to understand what the range of outcomes is for these guys and understanding which guys are going to be really safe and not necessarily hurt your team, and which guys are going to be guys that could have a really wide range of outcomes and could either really drastically benefit you this season or drastically impact you in a negative way. So fun making these videos. Find that it's pretty helpful as well. It's a lot of guys that I find myself drafting quite a bit, especially at the quarterback position. I'm generally looking for something relatively safe, especially if I want to go with just one quarterback. So yeah, with that, let's get into the first players. So starting us off, I did a bit of a cheaty thing here. I put all 3 of the tier 1 guys in the safe category. I think that all 3, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes are going to be super safe this season. I don't necessarily recommend drafting them, any of them in the second round, because I do believe that is just too high of a price tag to draft them in. But if you get them in the third round, I think they're all going to be pretty safe. I don't think there's going to be a scenario where either of those 3 players bust. The only scenario would really be if they get hurt, and obviously every player can get hurt, so I try to pretty much ignore that in terms of my analysis unless there's a certain player that has a lot higher risk profile or somebody that's already hurt. So all 3 of these guys are pretty much locked to be top 5 players. Obviously, they only will significantly benefit you, really, if they do finish as the number 1 or if they're all 3 significantly higher than the tier of players below them. But I don't really see a world where any of these 3 players bust. If you want to play it safe, draft them in the third round. I really have no problem doing that. I think it's a super safe pick. Neither of these guys are going to be the reason you lose your league if you draft them. It's just the second round's a little bit too high of a price tag for him. But in the third round, it just makes a lot of sense. I've got no problem drafting them there, and I think they're going to be pretty safe draft picks this season. Next up, I think Justin Herbert is a really safe draft pick right now. He's currently being drafted as the quarterback 7 right now, and that's just way too cheap. I've got him ranked the quarterback 4, and looking at the guys that are currently ranked behind him, there are only 3 that I think you could make arguments have legitimate shots to outperform him this season, those 3 being Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, and Tua Tagovailoa. I think all 3 of these guys I obviously project to finish below Justin Herbert this season, but I think that what that means is that there's really nobody else that could finish ahead of him aside from something really wonky happening this season, which means that pretty much gives him a floor of the quarterback 10 this season. I legitimately think he's also got quarterback 1 overall upside. He's got the best weapons he's ever had in his entire career. He's got a new offensive coordinator that's going to be very pass heavy, very up tempo. We're going to get a lot of volume, a lot more of an aggressive offense, a lot more downfield throws this season. I think Justin Herbert could easily throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns this season, and really I think the yardage is pretty much guaranteed for him, which makes him really safe. And the way that he can really perform at a really high level is if he ends up getting an inflated touchdown number, or if he runs a little bit more than he did last season as well. So that's pretty much his range of outcomes here, but I think that the floor for him really is quarterback 10. Honestly, I think quarterback 7 is pretty much his floor. Next up, we've got Kirk Cousins. I know Kirk Cousins isn't a very sexy pick. He's obviously not really going to be a league winner this season, but I think he's just a super safe bet right now. He's going to finish as a quarterback 1. He's done it 3 straight seasons, albeit as the quarterback 11, 12, and 11. So nothing that was league winning by any means, but a guy that really didn't hurt you if you drafted him. You get him super late, and he's likely going to be top 3 in the league in terms of pass attempts this season. I think he'll easily surpass 5,000 passing yards as well. It's just how elite those weapons are and how pass-centric this offense is going to be. And honestly, Kirk Cousins is a talented quarterback. He doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. I think he's a fringe top 10 guy in the real NFL, and he's certainly a guy that with those weapons could be a good performer this season. Even actually in my rankings, I've got him ranked as my quarterback 6 in 6 point per passing touchdown scoring. If you're in a league that is 6 point per passing touchdown, it obviously shifts a little bit towards the favor of non-mobile quarterbacks, or at least it limits how much of an advantage the rushing upside gives you, bringing those touchdowns to have the same value. And I think Kirk Cousins could legitimately be a top 10 guy this season. I've got him as my quarterback 6, like I said. I think quarterback 6 is also kind of his ceiling. I don't really see a world where he finishes higher than that, because obviously there's the 5 guys ahead of him that I have ahead of him, and Burrow, Herbert, and then the 3 top tier 1 guys. So I don't think he can really crack that top 5, but I think quarterback 6 is quite realistic for him, and honestly quarterback 10 seems like it's about his floor. He's also just the perfect guy to pair with an upside quarterback. If you wait on the quarterback position earlier on in the draft, maybe you miss out on like those top 7 or 8 guys. You can take Kirk Cousins, then you can pair him with a guy like Anthony Richardson, a guy like Kyler Murray, and just sort of hold on and wait till Kyler Murray comes back, or wait and see if Anthony Richardson develops over the course of the season. So he's a really safe guy. He's going to really stabilize your roster, and obviously he doesn't cost you much, so I've got no problem drafting Kirk Cousins where he's being drafted right now. And lastly, the last really safe quarterback to draft right now, I think, is Geno Smith. He's currently being drafted as the quarterback 16 right now, which is just way too low. He finished as the quarterback 5 last season, and I get it. It was pretty much just a product of him playing all 17 games. He just accumulated stats and never really put up any week-winning performances, and I think you're going to see a really similar thing for him again this season. He's got very elite pass catchers this season, having added Jackson Smith and Jigba to the roster in the NFL draft this year. The running backs are already banged up. We know that Charbonnet is back at practice now, but Kenneth Walker is still dealing with a groin injury. We saw that Kenny McIntosh also left practice yesterday with a knee injury, so this is going to be a team that might have to air it out more than we were expecting them to. I think it's pretty safe to say that Geno Smith is going to finish the season with around 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. That'll make him like a low-end quarterback 1, high-end quarterback 2, probably finish in the 10 to 15 range, and I think he's just going to be a guy that you can pretty much play any given week. He'll be a really nice streaming option. Another guy sort of in that Kirk Cousins mold where you can draft him and pair him with another higher upside guy, play Geno Smith until you see what happens with the guy you're waiting to see what pans out, and he'll be a guy that's going to stabilize your roster as well. So I don't mind drafting Geno Smith. I generally find myself taking Kirk Cousins over him, especially because they're both sort of at that point where you already missed the top tier guys. I would just prefer to get the better one in Cousins, but I think that Geno Smith's a perfectly fine draft pick as well. So that'll do it for the safest quarterbacks to draft and drafts this season video. Up next, I'll be doing one outlining some of the safest running backs to draft right now in drafts. I think these videos are really useful in terms of looking at which guys we can expect to finish just at or slightly above their ADP. None of these guys are guys that I'm exactly... there are some exceptions, but a lot of these guys I'm not expecting to really drastically outperform where they're being drafted, but they're guys that I think are just really safe picks, guys that are going to help stabilize your roster. It's really good to understand which players have high variability, especially on a week-to-week or even a season-long basis, and understand which guys are relatively predictable and we sort of know what we're going to get. So it's a lot of fun making these videos. I find they're really helpful. It really helps understand what you're drafting when you draft each of these players. And if you like this video and you want more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be here all off-season putting out a video every single day. Be putting out several videos throughout the course of the regular season as well to help keep you guys moving on throughout the course of the regular season. Really want to help you dominate your drafts and help you win your leagues this season. So if you like the video, which I hope you did because you made it this far, please do take a minute to like the channel or like the video on the YouTube channel. It really helps with the algorithm. It helps you know that I'm doing a good job. It really just helps me know that you guys want more content like this as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.